Today, in the great human laboratory of England, the principles of nutrition are being conclusively proven. The subject of this great wartime experiment in food are not white mice or guinea pigs, but human beings fighting for their lives.
The first food items were couponed from January 1940. Rationing was designed to manage shortages and ensure fair distribution.
And then they started the rationing in full force, which just about living sort of thing. Meat and sugar and all the other commodities, you know. The brewery started making their own beer. It was called Arms and Legs because it had got no body in it.
The effect of rationing, as Churchill had feared, was inevitably to tell people what they could eat. And since what they could eat was not the normal diet, part of the government's work was to tell people how to eat well.
We cannot produce or import enough fruit in wartime, but we are growing more green vegetables to take their place. Some of these are richer in vitamin C than fruit.
In the background, there are some very interesting nutritionists working away and interested in this, testing what kind of rations people would need in order to survive. They did incredible things, like they weighed the food before it went in, and then they weighed their friend's poo when it came out to see how healthy it was, and analysed it to see how much calcium was coming out and all those sorts of things. When they found that the ration that was eventually introduced was absolutely fine.
But it's funny, we all stayed healthy. Mum never ever bought rubbish. She always made good, solid food.
In September 1939, British ships offloaded at British ports to supply British shops that delivered to British homes. 70% of cheese, almost 80% of fruit, and more than 50% of meat consumed. Some 20 million tonnes of food every year. All that changed. On Monday morning, 8th of January 1940, for the first time, housewives all over Britain set off to the shops with their ration books. Bacon, butter and sugar were rationed, with more and more items added. Until by the second half of 1942, almost every food item was rationed, except for vegetables, produced in sufficient quantities, but not, perhaps, with the pre-war variety. The British rationing system was administered with coupons, contained in ration books, and was based on the idea that the coupons represented the minimum amount of food that the government guaranteed would be available to each person. Rationing was ultimately imposed almost everywhere. Taking sugar as an example, 280 grams per adult per week was allowed in Germany, 250 in Britain, 500 in France, and in America, which had depended on the Philippines for almost all of its sugar, 250 after the Japanese conquest.
3-colour ration books, a buff colour for adults, a blue one for teenagers, and a green one for infants. The adults weren't allowed any oranges, but the teenagers and the children were each allowed, I think it was about 2 oranges each, which they could get on their ration books.
There must be quite a lot of the under-5 class who don't know what an orange is. And there are likely to be a few sticky moments while they decide whether it's a good thing or not.
One girl at school had a sister who was married to someone in the Navy, and he brought back bananas. This was fairly far on in the war. And she was given a banana, and her very good friends got a piece of the banana, but I only got a sniff of the banana skin.